Hey, what's going on, everyone? Um, a very common, very normal thing that happens when we go through something like a very difficult loss, divorce, breakup, losing someone, or just a major change in our life, whether it's losing our job, losing our house, our home, your family, anything that is a significant change in our life can leave you feeling like, well, who am I? I don't know who I am anymore. It can create a temporary identity crisis. You can call it an identity crisis or a flux. I like to look at it like if you put into Google Maps a destination and you miss your exit, and then it says recalculating the route, right? It's not something permanent. It's not something to freak out and worry about, like that, oh, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I want anymore. I feel like a mess. I feel lost. I feel so confused. I don't even know who I am anymore. It's not, it's understandable that people would freak out and panic and feel like this is going to be forever. That's a common thing that we humans we do. We think that the feeling, the moment that we're in is going to last forever. That's why you see people hurting themselves or doing things that they shouldn't be to themselves because they feel like I will feel like this forever. And you don't realize that it's only how you feel right now. It's only how you feel for the time being. Your feelings are going to change. The way you think, the way you feel is going to be different tomorrow. It's going to be different in an hour. It's going to be way different in a week. And I guarantee you're going to go up and you're going to go down. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel peace. You're going to feel comfort. And then you're going to feel discomfort. You're going to feel stress. You're going to feel pain. It's the experience of life. And does it have to be so volatile and ever changing? No, not at all. The way that you go through your life is very similar to how a surfer rides a wave. And it's all about what wave is the surfer going to pick, the decisions he or she makes, and the type of board they're going to use. Are they going to use a small board so they're going to be more of an aggressive, exciting ride, or is it going to be a long board and a small wave that maybe lasts a long time so that they can have a nice, long, steady ride all the way to the beach with no rocks, no corals, nothing like that. So you can also ride your life out in the way that you desire or in the way that you subconsciously think you need. At the end of the day, we're all on this earth to grow and to evolve and to improve, to adapt, to get stronger, to go through difficulty is how we do that. Without difficulty in life, we aren't going to evolve and grow and get stronger. But that doesn't mean that we've got to subject ourselves to unnecessary difficulty. So when we lose someone, when we lose our way of life, when we pass our destination, as I was saying on the Google Maps, when you miss your exit, and now you've got to rewrite your story ahead. You've got to recalculate your path, your route. It can be depressing. Why? Because it requires a lot of energy. And that is what I argue depression, the bulk of depression really is. Depression is just a lack of energy. It's an energy drain. Where's that energy going? It's usually going into thought. It's going into planning. It's going into analyzing. We usually tend to get depressed when we get caught in a state of analyzing and thinking, and I'm not going to call it overthinking because often we need to go through that. It's like if a fighter gets knocked out, punched in a way that knocks the person out, the body gets knocked out for a reason. It's a protective, defensive thing. It's sort of like when a lizard freezes. It's basically going to its last resort to signal that, hey, there's no threat here, or it's playing dead, basically pretending to be dead, right? So that it will be left alone. You can argue that aspect of being knocked out. You can also argue that being knocked out is your body's way of shutting everything down so that you can rest, so you can stop whatever it is you were doing. And when we get depressed, it's a very similar thing that's going on. In my opinion, depression is, the part of our body that requires the most amount of energy is the human brain, the mind. It requires a lot of energy. You've got your thigh muscles, they require a lot of energy. There's different parts of our body that require different amounts of energy, and the brain is one of the most energy consuming, if not the most energy consuming organ or section of our body. And when our mind goes into excessive thinking, overthinking you can call it, we get depressed as a result. We shut down. We have no energy. We just want to lay in bed. We want to sleep. We want to eat. We want to energize ourselves. We want to entertain ourselves. We want to do things that are easy ways of making ourselves feel better. So understanding that is a huge step of progress that a lot of people don't take. They don't take that step. They feel depressed, then their next step is to feel, what's wrong with me? Why am I so different to everyone else? I'm broken. I will never be normal. This sort of thinking comes into play, and then it makes you more depressed, right? It makes you feel more isolated, more like something's wrong with you. And here's the funny thing is that we all get depressed. Every single human being on earth, no matter how rich, how poor, how good looking and beautiful or ugly or what unattractive, or no matter what shape or size, what class, wherever, what your background is, every single person on earth has gone through depression, is going to go through depression, will go through depression. It's a natural human response. And sadly, most people will also respond to depression in the way that I just described. So the irony about depression is that you're not alone. So when you feel lonely and depressed, the irony is you're actually doing what most people do. So we're all doing the same thing. We're all in the same boat. Which is why one of the best things you can write down, like a little survival kit for if you ever get super depressed, is number one, this isn't going to last. This is going to pass. This too shall pass. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing. Not even that horrible, lonely, depressed, empty feeling you're going through. Even that isn't going to last. And usually feelings come in waves. So we'll go through a wave of depression, and it usually is followed by a wave of relief. So always remember that, hey, if you're going through a lot of pain and depression and pain and suffering and anxiety and loneliness, always know that what's going to follow that will be the opposite. I call that the pendulum effect. And the more and more you learn and become aware of your own pendulum, the more you'll realize where you're heading, where you've come from, and you'll be able to, it'll give you confidence, it'll make you understand yourself, it'll make you know thyself better, which is so important. It's what this channel is all about, knowing thyself, knowing yourself. And when you get a good feel for your own pendulum, what I mean by that is like, okay, I've been depressed for a week, and then I felt good after a week. How many days did you feel good for after that? It could be that you'll feel terrible for a week, and then good for 3 days, and then terrible for a week again, then good for 4 days, and then depressed for fewer days. And then you can notice that there's a trend, a pattern, where your downs are getting shorter. And we can affect and alter and change how much time we spent suffering, or how much time we feel good, based on the things we do. All the techniques that I talk about on this video, on this channel, sorry. So we can steer ourselves. And in a similar way, that's how we develop and create our personality. Who am I? Who am I? It's a very normal thing that who am I? I don't know who I am anymore. What do I like? What are my interests? What are my goals? What do I want to do? What's the point of all this? What's the point of life, right? Well, the simple answer to that is you are, or you can be, whoever you want to be. And that is the beauty of being free. Yes, sometimes being free itself is a scary thought. There is this term, this notion of being institutionalized. I remember the first time I heard that was in the movie The Shawshank Redemption, where Red, the character, is talking about, Morgan Freeman's character is talking about how if you spend enough time in prison, just the notion of being free itself is scary, and you don't know what to do with freedom. You don't know how to live out in the free world. You've become institutionalized. You've become conditioned, and you've adapted, you've evolved. Every cell in your body and your mind has become geared to living in that environment which you have been. But the beauty of the gift of this body, this mind that we have, is that our mind is elastic. This is something you can go ahead and research and read about, the elasticity, brain elasticity, which lasts all the way up till our 70s and even 80s. And they've done studies on this, so you can go out and research it, that how we are able to evolve and adapt and change even deep into our old age. So it's just, change is scary. That's the biggest problem of all, is fear. It's fear that gets us, as I don't know, was it Eisenhower or whoever said, there's nothing to fear except fear itself. And then you'll realize that fear is just a feeling. And that's all it is. It's just a feeling. It's an experience. It's triggered by thoughts. And it's triggered by thoughts of, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? My life is now at risk. I feel threatened. So then fear is triggered, right? And the fear happens to get us off our asses. So we do something about the fear, because nobody likes living in fear. So the point of fear is to help us come to a solution. And the problem many of us have is, as I described earlier, rather than coming to that solution, we tend to exacerbate, whatever that word is that I just attempted. Exacerbate. We tend to make it worse. I prefer using simpler words. Why use something complicated when you can use something simple, which is equally as effective? So we tend to make things worse, and we create more fear, more anxiety. And the reason is simple. It's just a lack of education. Right? And that's the purpose of these videos, all this sharing. I didn't know all this coming out of the womb. I didn't get all this given to me sitting on a mountain doing a lotus pose. These are things that I have learned from from people, from all my interactions, from traveling all around the world, from all my life experiences, from all the conversations I've had. I've been probably the most curious person I've ever known. And I spent the bulk of my life up to the age of 30 just genuinely being very interested in listening to people and listening to their stories. And I learned a lot from that. And so there's maybe, I would say, nothing as useful and powerful as knowledge. And when you not know, when you have knowledge, when you're educated, then rather than banging your head in a brick wall, you'll realize, oh, I feel fear, I feel pain, I feel suffering. This means my body's trying to tell me that I'm doing something wrong. Let me try something else. And if your fear and suffering gets worse, it's a sign that, hey, don't do that. Go back and try something different. And scan through trying different things out until you feel better. Even if you feel a little bit better, then identify, well, what did I just do that made me feel better? Let me do more of that. Okay? It's not going to be things like heroin or sex or, taking drugs. Those things make us feel worse, not better. Those are deceptive things. So what your measure for feeling better should be is long-term contentment, peace, health, feeling inspired, feeling motivated, feeling less dependent, feeling more independent, which is strength, being stronger, feeling healthier, right? So going back to this idea of, well, who am I? I don't know who I am anymore. What do I want? What's my life all about? And I said, well, you can be whoever you want to be. And that's the beauty of freedom. So understanding that your brain is elastic, your mind can adapt and change, all it means is that, hey, all you need to do is focus on what you're putting your attention on. Because this being, this body, this mind that is under your control, under your directive, it's like you're steering it, it's going to automatically do everything that it needs to do for you. It's going to evolve, it's going to adapt, it's going to recondition itself, it's going to mold to whatever environment you put it into. Even if you, God forbid, become disabled or wind up in prison, this amazing, most complex technology on planet Earth, biotechnology, biological technology, is going to adapt and evolve to whatever you subject it to. So your job as the overriding awareness, the educated, the enlightened awareness, is to guide this incredible vessel into good direction. And if let's say you're sitting and you're confronted with this challenge, this confusing, difficult, scary challenge of who am I, who do I want to be? Well, Ape is saying I can be whoever I want to be. What does that mean? Well, it means, who do you want to be? I remember when I was growing up, I would hear music and I'd be like, I want to do that. I want to make music like that. Or I would see movies of people fighting, like Bloodsport or Kickboxer or The Karate Kid, and I'd be like, I want to do that. I want to be just like that. I want to be like Daniel San. I want to be like whoever it is. This concept is called modeling. We model ourselves on the behavior, on the decisions, on the people around us. And modeling is beautiful. We're not going to completely copy ourselves onto using someone else. We model ourselves based on all the personality traits we see in a range of people. I like this person's strength. I like this person's sense of humor. I like how this person looks. I love this person's confidence. I love this person's creativity. And we create our own unique personality out of that. And that's how we create and construct who we are. And it's not static, it will be ever changing who we are. We'll always be able to add and let go and say, oh, I don't need this anymore. I don't need this, my creative side. I doubt that, because creativity is one of the most useful tools available to us. But you'll be able to shape and mold and evolve and grow and adapt according to what serves you, right? What serves you? The overarching question that you should always be asking is, hey, does this creativity serve me? Does me being a fighter, does it serve me? Does it bring me strength? Does it improve my life? Does me doing heroin, does it serve me? Does me, dating around constantly, is that serving me? Is that who I want to be? Right? And then be aware and be careful that the things that we do over and over again, when we direct and guide this vessel into something, this vessel is going to evolve and adapt and gear and become conditioned into doing that behavior, which will make it hard again for us to change. And remember, we've all been there. If you're watching this, I'm sure most of you have experienced how scary and uncomfortable and undesirable change is when we go from a relationship to being single, or even when we go from being single to being in a relationship. It's uncomfortable. We dislike it. Humans, we hate change. Even though change is constant, it's what will constantly be happening in life. So being able to change is one of the greatest skills, greatest abilities you will ever be able to develop within you. I would rate that high on your list of things to do as a human, to be good at, to be better at, is to be able to change, be able to adapt to change. Now, you don't want to go too extreme with that either, like being so fleeting and being so able to change that you can just let go of things so easily. That's too extreme as well. You want a good balance. Remember, balance is another big, important word to live by. Balance. In our diets and our way of thinking. So going back to, how do I figure out who I am? Who am I? Well, you can be whoever you want to be. So me, again, as an example, growing up, and there was a reason I gravitated towards certain things. There was a reason why certain songs I liked. And I thought, I want to make this kind of music, not this kind of music. Or I want to be this kind of fighter, not this kind of fighter. Or I want to wear these types of clothes, not these types of clothes. Or I want to be a mathematician, not an artist. We gravitate to certain things sometimes out of just chance, because that's all that's available and that's all we can see, and we pick the things that are available, and maybe sometimes we stumble upon, and maybe at first we don't click with, but then we become better at. But I believe that 9 times out of 10, because there's always choice. Even if you have very limited options, there's always choice. And we tend to gravitate towards certain things over others. Even when choice is limited, there's this something inside us that connects more with certain things than others. And that is your essence. That's who you are. And that essence, we all have it. And in order for that essence to come out, all you have to do is follow your heart. If you like music, go towards that. If you like cooking, if you like food, go towards that. Within music, there's going to be a diverse array of different kinds of music, and then you're going to go towards those styles. And then as you listen to those styles more and more, you'll get into that world, whether it's creating music or writing about music or just going to live events and taking photos of bands. It's how your life path gets crafted and carved. So it really is as simple as do what you enjoy, do what you love. You know, I was blessed to have parents that basically didn't force anything on me. They didn't say, oh, and I had Middle Eastern parents too, but how enlightened and forward thinking of them to not be, you know, the typical, you know, what we hear about, like, you know, Middle Eastern or Asian parents, that you're going to be an engineer, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer. My parents never did any of that. My mom was a huge influence on me growing up, and it was always about do what you love, follow your heart. And for me, I got into music from a very early age. So from the age of 14, 13, 12, I started writing music. I started playing instruments from the age of 2. I was singing songs. I loved music that was being played on around me. I was singing along to songs. Started playing instruments when I was like 4, starting with the recorder, and you know, getting into the flute, and then playing the saxophone. But then I realized that I didn't like being taught. I didn't like having a teacher. Okay, and when I was 12 or 13, I started listening to, this is back in 1992, 1991. I was only 11, I was only 12, but I started listening to Guns N' Roses and, you know, lots of cool bands that were playing in the 90s. And then I started getting into other bands, and I wanted to start playing. You know, I wanted to make my own music because I was so into music. All I would do was listen to music, you know, and drawing and art. But I had those people in my life. I had my uncle, he was a musician and an artist, and him being able to record music and paint and draw gave me that feeling that, hey, I can do that too. Our behavior gives permission to others to behave in a similar way. Someone wise once told me, when I was in Bali, I was sitting in a coffee shop and I was drinking I think it was ginger, beet, apple, lemon juice. You know, over there's amazing, amazing juice bars and restaurants, very, very health conscious, you know, places. And I was just sitting there enjoying a drink, and this guy, I've mentioned him before in an older video, this big guy with huge heart, huge personality, just walking across the street, comes over for some reason, gravitates towards me. Cut a long story short, just interacts. He actually just immediately, for some reason, just starts massaging my neck, and he just comes up to me and he's like, you, and he's like, and we just had this strong connection. And you know, I at the time, and looking back, I look at him as a prophet, you know, modern day prophet. And we had a strong connection, and he told me, we had a brief but powerful conversation, and in that moment he told me that what you do gives permission to other people to also do. So he was sort of like, a lot of people in our society, if you live in the West, in normal society, would consider him maybe as a madman. You know, this guy walking up to people randomly, talking to people, but a big open heart. And later I would come to realize this guy was well known in that town of Bali, well respected, well loved by the community. He was a leading, powerful person. But what he told me was that what you do gives permission to other people to do. And if you're a parent, if you're a manager, if you're a leader, if you're a coach, understand that the way you're going to teach and raise your children, the way you're going to teach and raise your staff, your workers, or the people you're coaching, isn't by what you tell them to do. That will go in one ear and come out the other ear. If you're trying to teach your children something, if you tell them to do stuff, it will go in one ear and come out the other ear. But it's by what you do. They're going to learn, and they're going to do what you do. If you use language that's inappropriate, they're going to absorb it. They're going to be like, it's okay for me to do that. I'm going to do that. If you are confident and comfortable and loving and caring then they're going to model themselves on you. And that's what this all comes back to again, is modeling. Children model themselves on the behavior of their parents, or the people that are around, or the movies, the actors, the music. We model ourselves based on everything that we're exposed to. So, to wrap it up, because this can go on and on and on, you're going to find out who you are, one way or another. The question is it going to be more of a conscious journey or an unconscious journey? Are you going to leave it more up to chance, and you stumble into certain environments and certain situations, and then your body will just be forced to to gear and to adapt and evolve, and then become conditioned to and geared for that situation? So it will be again hard to change to something else, but always possible to change, but just hard and uncomfortable, and we don't like to do it. Or are you going to be more of a conscious creator, more aware of all these things that I'm discussing, and then put yourself into positions better, rather than just stumbling through life, which is also, by the way, totally fine. That's how life is created. That's how this universe is being created. It's just happening. And I describe existence as existence is just existing. It's just it's existing for its own existence. Existence is just happening. It's just existing. And it's going in every possibility it can go. And our minds are like these incredible nodes in existence that can scatter and share and channel the light of existence into more realms, into more avenues. And that's why when 50, 60 years ago, or however long ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when you have filmmakers who start to think and imagine that there will be a starship that can travel through space, and people will have little pads that they can work on, and computer pads. And then 20, 30 years later, we have the iPad, or we have little iPhones. And the iPhone will for sure one day be able to scan your own body and tell if you have an injury, or if you're deficient in minerals, or for sure it's going to happen. Why? Because we've thought of it. And thinking is the first step of things materializing. Because all that is needed is just time and attention. It's like a seed. For it to grow, it just needs sunlight, water, and the earth, the minerals. And it's the same for things to materialize in our world. All it needs is time and attention. Time and attention, and everything else will materialize around that. So everything really is possible. We're only limited by our beliefs, our imagination. So you can be whoever you want to be. Don't panic, don't worry about it, or even better yet, panic, worry about it, but be okay with panicking. Be okay with worrying about it, and realize that, oh, okay, I'm panicking, I'm worrying about it, it's totally normal. We all panic, we all worry about this. I understand why I'm panicking, because my life is going through a major change, and my survival instincts are freaking out and thinking that I'm going to die and my life is over. It's just feelings. It's just, it's just chemicals that are being triggered by your thoughts. And if you rise above it through awareness, realize, oh, okay, this body is having all these triggering all these feelings, and it's just all natural. It will calm down. I just need to just be chill and be patient, and just every day wake up and remind myself of all these things, because you can kind of get carried away and lost. and then put yourself back on track again, or just take another step up the mountain, one step after another. One step, you might fall down, but then hey, just continue. Keep showing up to life. Keep moving forward. There's a saying I've mentioned a lot. It's a well-known saying that pain is weakness leaving the body, or weakness leaving your life. I 100% agree. I would rephrase it a little bit. I like looking at it as pain is weakness that needs to still be ironed out. So when you feel pain, you've just identified some weakness that you can iron it out, right? Doesn't mean that you can get to a point where you'll never feel pain. Well, actually, I would argue that yes, you can get to that point. That's the point that, people like Jesus or the Dalai Lama or Buddha, maybe not the Dalai Lama, but Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, a lot of people, not just them, but a lot of people have gotten to that place where they were able to transcend, disidentify with their biological vehicle, and then observe. I can feel pain. Yes, I can see the pain. I'm not identifying with the pain. I am not the pain. Pain isn't overwhelming and controlling me. I'm not in there. I'm like a hot air balloon that's lifted above the traffic, and I can see the traffic just like the emotions, the happiness, the anger. But realize it's those beautiful, pleasant emotions that can trap us into that body, as well as the pain and suffering. Because it's the happiness and those feelings that are like, oh yeah, I want to dive into that feeling. But then when you dive into that feeling, what happens is you dive into that realm of identifying with yourself. Yourself is the personality that you're creating, constructing, which is, don't want to get too deep here, but it's okay. We do have our self, and people think, well, who am I? One minute I'm here, one minute I'm there, one minute I like this person, one minute I'm there. Hey, you're all of it. And some people think, well, I feel like a fake, I feel like a fraud, I feel disingenuous, I don't feel like a real person. No, you are a real person. Your personality is wide and diverse, and you have many aspects and characteristics and facets to your personality. Or you don't, or you have a basic, simple, it's up to you. And it's not a bad thing to have different perspectives and different feelings. There's nothing wrong with that, unless you're hurting someone or hurting other people around you or hurting yourself. Then, yes, then there's something wrong with that. And the question should always be, does my behavior, does my personality, does my self, does it serve me? Does it serve my existence? Does it serve the people around me? Because usually our existence and our life journey and our experience is linked to those around us. When there's a saying that when people around you succeed, you succeed. The rising tides lift all ships up. And it all starts with you. It all starts with yourself first. Yourself. Myself, I call it ape, or other names. But that's a self. It's a self that I created, or was created, or was hand in hand created by chance and by my intention. So big share of my personality or your personality can be created consciously, and a big share of it may be created without being conscious, by chance, just by stumbling through life. So again, balance. And I think that that's a good thing for it. You can't be totally 100% in control and conscious of the person you're crafting. There's no need for it to be 100% controlled. So a lot of it's going to be left up to chance and, who you were born to, the city, the town you were born to, what your parents' jobs are, what their beliefs are at the time you're born, the people around you in your community, the weather, the foods available, everything. You're like this gem, this magical bowl of DNA and biological, just super processor, not even a processor, way beyond that. Just like this just drop of possibilities. This drop, this little bunch of just endless power and possibilities and capable of so much. Every human is like a little drop in existence and can do so much. So as you start growing as a child, as you start becoming more conscious and more aware, it gives you more power to direct your this powerful biology, this powerful being into different situations. But above all, why musicians and artists and so many wise people talk about love, like so many intelligent people, even scientists, even Einsteins of the world, they come back to love because they have, through their mastery of their subject, of their craft, they have all come to the same place, love. They realize, whether through mathematics, through science, through music, through art, through whatever, through business, through politics, through nature, they realize that love means acceptance. And it means that if you're depressed, accept that. Be okay with it. Allow it. Because true love requires a lot of intelligence and enlightenment. Love, true love, is the result of a lot of intelligence, a lot of wisdom. So, love, people see it as like, oh, love, 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 You're so naive, you're so loving, the world is a brutal, tough place, you've got to survive, you've got to kill or be killed. That's old school mentality. That's where we've come from. We've evolved, past all of that. That's all had a chance, and it failed. And where we are seeing ourselves now as a race, as a species, is we've evolved to the point of enlightenment and high supreme intelligence and love, and maybe the word love carries with it a lot of naive, connotations or whatever meanings, but it is a highly intelligent, highly enlightened state of being and existing. It's extremely powerful. So, love yourself is the point. What does love yourself mean? It means love yourself when you are depressed. Love yourself when you are angry. Don't hate yourself and be like, what's wrong with me? I'm not supposed to be angry. Okay, I heard everything Ape says, but still, yet I suffer, and yet I don't want to be angry, and yet I don't want to be miserable, and yet I don't want to feel, useless or, irrelevant or whatever. Well, continue to love yourself and continue to shake yourself up until you become enlightened, until you become intelligent enough, until all these notions and thoughts become learned. Because, hey, that's why we go to school, right? We go to school and we repeat and we reread and we reread and we write things down to learn them. Because some clever people out there realize that that's how human biology works, is through repetition, right? So I'm sorry, but repetition seems to be the only way until we all wind up having the technology to just push a button and then boom, we've learned everything. And I wouldn't want that anyway, because the experience, the journey is the beauty anyway, isn't it? How boring of a world is it going to be if we just push a button and boom, you're over your ex, or you're over your family, or you're over your band, or you're over your training, or you're over your life, and you're ready for something new. All right, so I hope it helps. And if you are in the position of not knowing who you are and you're crafting a personality, guess what? We're all in that position. And maybe some of us are just a little bit more advanced and ahead and know what we want, and we're comfortable with those things more than others. But if you're at the beginning and you're confused and you don't know where you are, remember, you have this inner essence, and just know that it's there, and it's going to be attracted to certain things over others. So then allow yourself to be attracted to those things, but be able to identify whether those things are healthy or not. Okay, the porn, the drugs, the over dating, all those things. Be aware of those things, but then be aware of, like, hey, what else am I interested in? I'm interested in photography, or I'm interested in nature, or I'm interested in being around people, or I'm interested in music, I'm interested in food, I'm interested in sports, I'm interested in business, I'm interested in building. And allow your essence to create that path. All right, so adios for now. Where I live, the internet is terrible, so this video, which is 45 minutes, is going to take a while to upload. I'm going to leave it overnight to upload. All right, everybody, so have a great weekend. And yes, again, thank you to everyone who recently signed up to my Patreon page to support this channel, so that this channel will grow, and hopefully I will be interviewing people and eventually get a different setup. It will grow organically. I'm not in any rush. But to those of you who've signed up to my Patreon page, who are pledging, whether it's just $1 or whatever, thank you guys so much. It means so much to me. And I'm interacting with all of you guys on that Patreon page, as you know, and I am committed and determined to make sure that even that $1 that you pledge will be worth it. So I'm going to make sure that there's stuff uploaded on that page, regularly, videos, other content, and you can always communicate with me as well on there. And yeah, thanks again to everyone out there who has been watching, liking, subscribing, sharing, and the people who have gotten in contact and have been doing sessions with me. I'm super proud of all of you and the effort you're putting, the time you're putting into growing, into getting stronger and overcoming your challenges and difficulties. It's not easy. So I respect you for trying, for wanting to grow, for being on this path. And until the next video, adios for now.